telling you today, an earthquake rocked the Bay Area. It happened just after 4 o'clock, 4:10 to be specific. The 4.1 quake hit about 13 miles south of San Jose. It was followed by two mild aftershocks, a 2.6 and a 2.1. That quake was felt over a wide area of the bay. You can see on one side of the screen there our seismograph and the map that indicates the area affected. But joining us now, Pop Jonathan Bloom joins us with a closer look at the USGS maps of the affected areas. Jonathan.
And this is a really interesting shake map. We don't see shake maps very often that are just covered in blue and purple and turquoise. Usually shake maps are green and orange and red, but this one kind of looks like an icicle, and it has to do with how deep this quake was in the ground. Let's go in for a closer look. This quake was centered on what we believe may be the Calaveras Fault. It runs kind of parallel to the Hayward Fault. And right here, you can see the epicenter of the earthquake. It's a mile from that observatory. Here's the thing about that quake. It was 4 miles underground, a little more than 4 miles underground. And what happens when you have a deep earthquake like that is that it isn't felt very strongly, but it's felt over a very wide area. And you can see the area over which it was felt was indeed pretty much the entire populated portion of the Bay Area. But the quake wasn't felt evenly. If you look to the south here, these areas that are in white, those are areas that really didn't feel any shaking at all. But if you look up here, you can see some blues and some purples. Those are areas that still felt the shaking. So let's go in where the epicenter of the quake is, and we'll kind of work out from there. This turquoise color, that is light to moderate shaking. And we heard that there was some shaking felt at the observatory, pretty strong. Obviously, the strongest only a mile from the epicenter. As we move out, we see the blues and the purples. Those are light to very light shaking. And so you can see in many areas of the East Bay, on the San Francisco Peninsula, and even up here in Marin County, there was very light but still perceptible shaking felt in those areas. Again, more of the quake felt to the north than to the south of the epicenter. Now, in these categories of shaking, there's generally no damage, and in the case of this quake, we found that to be true. We haven't heard any reports of significant damage from this quake, but we have been getting a lot of calls from people even as far north as Marin County who say that they have felt this quake, and this shake map explains why. Again, that quake more than 4 miles underground, but the shaking spread out over a very wide area. Jonathan Bloom, KRON 4 News.
Yeah, those shake maps are very interesting, and of course the USGS has monitors throughout the Bay Area to help them understand quakes and where they hit and why they hit and whatnot. Catherine, back here now to say,
yeah,
we talked to viewers for the last hour, and they said a jolt was what they felt.
Jolt, I was just saying the technology is getting so good, not only at the USGS level, but, you know, for us online, you can really get a good look now at where things are happening. Yeah, people are basically saying, Pam, that, you know, they felt a sudden jolt or a big bang, as one woman put it. She said her pets were frightened. So people are really feeling it, and we keep saying this, but we do need to clarify. We're not hearing about things being moved or shaken or broken. We did have a caller just a little while ago remind us, not that it's related, but since we're talking about quakes, there is a 2.0 in the Petaluma area this afternoon, about 2 o'clock. So we always ask the USGS, is there a possible link? But we know that the last quake and the 2 aftershocks on the Calaveras Fault.
Of course, whenever this happens, it does make you think, and all of the quake officials like to remind us, and emergency officials like to remind us that when these kinds of things happen, this is the time to begin thinking about getting your emergency kits ready, because this is a moderate quake, but all of the experts say that the Bay Area is due to get a big quake, and that you should use this as a time to get your emergency kits ready, get your family planning ready, so that you know what to do when the big one does in fact hit.
Yeah, people kind of roll their eyes when they throw out that advice, but it really is the time to be thinking about it. If not then, when?